the WNBA is being largely ignored by the media, largely ignored by sports media, not considered a real professional league, to the point where people didn't even know it existed until CC22. That's just a fact. You can't believe how many times I have people come in the chat and say, I didn't even know that there was a professional women's basketball league until Caitlin. Yeah, it's the fact.
They called her the future of women's basketball, the golden ticket the WNBA had been waiting for, the rookie who was supposed to change everything. But somewhere between the hype, the pressure, and the brutal reality of the league, Caitlin Clark's story took a turn nobody saw coming. From record-breaking performances to sudden meltdowns, from being celebrated as a savior.
Herself. I'd hope to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. I spent hours in the gym every day with the singular goal of getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I'm feeling. I want to thank everyone who has had my back through all this uncertainty. This has been incredibly frustrating, but even in the bad, there is good. And the way the fans continue to show up for me and for the Fever brought me so much joy and important perspective. I'm so proud of how this team has...
To being targeted by veterans, her rise was dramatic, but her collapse was even more shocking. Fans thought they knew her, but the truth was much messier. The WNBA has always been tough, but for Caitlin Clark, it turned into a battlefield. In college, she was untouchable. She had swagger, long-range shooting that broke records, and confidence that turned every game into a show. At Iowa, she wasn't just a star, she was the entire headline. Fans packed arenas to see her drop threes from the logo, and suddenly ESPN couldn't stop talking about her. Every game felt like a movie.
Supposed to return versus the Minnesota Lynx, supposedly, and then the Scott Agneses and all them start talking about she suffered a bone bruise in Phoenix. I told y'all, it was a wrap. It was done. It was done. They knew it. And I believe they've known far longer. They have known. They've kept us fans in the dark, and it sucks. It absolutely sucks. Man, I was so looking forward to watching Caitlin Clark play this season. Now we have to wait an entire offseason, and we don't even know what's gonna happen. There might be a lockout. There might not even be a 2026 season.
But when she made the jump to the WNBA, things changed fast. She wasn't walking into a college arena anymore. She was stepping into a league full of grown women who had been grinding for years, many of them feeling disrespected by how much attention this one rookie was getting. That's where the cracks started. From the very first game, defenders weren't just trying to stop her, they were trying to embarrass her. Every possession, she was shoved, hacked, bumped. Plays that would have been called fouls in college suddenly weren't. The message was clear. Welcome to the W rookie. Fans noticed it too. Clips started going viral of Caitlin being knocked to the floor, jawing with refs, throwing frustrated looks at teammates. Comment sections lit up.
She knows just how much she means to everybody that buys those tickets. I mean, I would say at least like 90 to maybe not 95, but like 90% of the people in arenas were there to see Caitlin Clark, which of course they became fans of the Fever afterwards. But you know, Caitlin Clark is the draw. And then here's this one where she's actually in her street clothes. And yeah, these are, you know, pretty heartfelt photos. Her in the huddle with her teammates. But I gotta say, this was quite a year. I mean, there came a certain point where people, including myself, were just like, what is actually going on? I think that it's time. It was definitely time to tell.
Some fans said she was being targeted unfairly, that veterans were jealous of her fame. Others fired back that this was just basketball at the highest level, and if she couldn't handle it, maybe she wasn't built for the league. And the drama only grew. One of the first major flashpoints came when she faced Angel Reese again. The same Angel Reese who had humiliated her on the biggest stage of college basketball. That rivalry carried into the pros like wildfire. Every matchup was billed as must-see TV. And every time, the tension boiled over. Hard fouls, stare-downs, subtle trash talk that cameras caught but commentators couldn't ignore. Fans picked sides, Team Clark or Team Reese. And social media, it exploded. Memes, debates, even celebrities weighing in. But the rivalry wasn't Caitlin's only problem. She was also clashing with veterans who didn't like her spotlight. Players like Diana Taurasi had already warned that the WNBA wasn't college, and when Caitlin stepped onto the court, veterans made sure to back that up. She wasn't just guarded.
This has been a huge disaster as far as public perception for the WNBA. An entirely new group of people started tuning in to this league for one player and one player only. In fact, so many new people tuned into this league, the viewership for the Caitlin Clark games largely surpassed anything else going on in the WNBA. I would argue that the amount of Caitlin Clark fans are at least 3x the amount of WNBA.
She was hunted. Screens turned into body checks. Fast breaks ended with her hitting the floor. Every game looked more like a hazing ritual than basketball. And the refs? They let a lot of it slide. That's when the media narrative started to turn. Instead of celebrating her talent, headlines started questioning her durability. Was Caitlin Clark overrated? Could she handle the physicality? Was the league exposing her flaws? And just like that, the Golden Girl image cracked. Her stats dipped. Her frustration showed. Cameras caught her rolling her eyes at teammates, shaking her head at coaches, even throwing subtle jabs in interviews. Fans who once worshipped her began doubting her. The collapse wasn't a single moment. It was a series of them, like the game where she went 2 for 15 from the field, completely shut down by a defense that smelled blood. Or the night she fouled out in the fourth quarter, slamming the ball in frustration as the opposing bench roared with laughter. Or the time a veteran guard stripped the ball from her, taunted her on the way back, and Caitlin could do nothing but glare. Each clip went viral. Each stumble became content. And with every new controversy, the league's rookies versus veterans divide got uglier. What made it worse? Her own fans. At first, they defended her, saying the league was out to get her. But soon, even they started asking questions.
That she tried to get back on the floor. It appears that she just ran out of time, not able to get enough confidence back in her body as the season wraps up and the playoffs are likely about to begin for Indiana. I mean, it's a gut punch that basically encompasses an entire season of them. The Fever have lost so many players to injury, but obviously none bigger than Clark. And there was such a wait for this second season after her magnificent rookie season. And then, the anticipation of her possibly coming back.
Why wasn't she adjusting? Why did she look rattled? Why was the girl who once looked unshakable now breaking down on national TV? Then came the media firestorm. Pundits who once called her the next face of the league began tearing her apart. Talk shows debated whether she was a marketing creation, more hype than substance. Former players chimed in, saying she had talent but lacked toughness. Headlines screamed, "Is Caitlin Clark already fading?" But the story didn't end there. Because off the court, Caitlin was facing just as much drama. Reports claimed she wasn't meshing well with teammates. That locker. Room tension was boiling over. Some rumors suggested veterans on her own squad were frustrated with her spotlight and her struggles. Fans believed she was isolated, stuck between proving herself and dealing with resentment she couldn't control. And every time she logged onto social media, she saw the noise. Critics clowning her, rivals celebrating her failures, even her supporters turning against her. For someone who had been celebrated as unstoppable, it was a nightmare. But what made her collapse so fascinating was that it wasn't just about basketball. It was about image, power, and respect. Caitlin Clark wasn't just playing games. She was carrying the weight of being the league's supposed savior. And when the savior stumbles, the backlash is brutal.
Season has been a complete train wreck. This season's been a complete disaster. We got the GOAT, who only played 13 games, missed basically the whole season. DeWanna Bonner scammed us. Natasha Howard basically scammed us. Stephanie White's a liar. Amber Cox is a liar. Kelly Krauskopf's a liar. Now we have to go a whole offseason with the front office we don't trust, we don't believe in, we can't believe anything they say, and we don't know what's really going to happen with Caitlin.
Every game became a test, not of skill, but of survival. She knew one bad night could fuel another week of memes, debates, and criticism. And that pressure? It started showing. But here's the thing. Caitlin Clark wasn't ready to give up. Even in the middle of her collapse, she had flashes of brilliance. Logo threes that silenced arenas. Clutch shots that reminded everyone why she was hyped in the first place. Moments where you saw the old Caitlin, the fearless star who could take over a game. The problem? Those moments were fewer and farther between. and the league had already smelled blood. But as tough as it got, Caitlyn's story wasn't finished. Because the collapse that everyone was talking about, it was only setting the stage for something bigger. The drama was just beginning. If fans thought Caitlyn Clark's struggles had peaked, they were wrong. Because every week seemed to bring a new controversy, a new headline, a new moment that kept her name in everyone's mouth. Some players build their careers quietly, not Caitlyn. Every game she played was magnified, dissected, turned into content for millions. And when the spotlight is that bright, every mistake feels like a collapse. One of the most brutal moments came during a nationally televised game against one of the league's toughest defensive teams. From the opening tip, Caitlyn was swarmed, double-teamed, trapped. Every time she touched the ball, she was shoved off her spot, and by halftime, she had more turnovers than points.
Full circle moment for the WNBA. With all the chatter of Kathy Engelbert saying, oh, if one player gets injured, one player, well, you have it. That one player got injured. And now you have it. There's no conversation around the league. No positive, no negative, no conversation at all. The only media talking about the WNBA are the content creators, are the YouTubers, are people with podcasts, people with their own shows, etc., etc. Well, you go on to ESPN, nobody's talking about the W. You go on to Fox Sports, nobody's talking about the W. The WNBA has managed to turn off a fan base that would have elevated this league.
Commentators who once praised her poise now shook their heads, saying she looked rattled, frustrated, lost. By the fourth quarter, cameras caught her on the bench, head in her hands, while the opposing crowd chanted her name mockingly. Clips flooded social media within minutes. Some fans begged for patience, saying every rookie hits walls, but others were brutal, overrated, exposed, not built for this. And the word collapse kept popping up. But it wasn't just the defense. Caitlyn's personality, once celebrated as fiery and competitive, started being labeled as arrogant. Reporters noted how her body language shifted when teammates missed shots. Opponents noticed her constant arguing with refs. Even fans began to question her attitude. The narrative turned ugly. Was Caitlyn Clark not only struggling on the court, but also losing the locker room? Rumors swirled. Reports claimed some veterans resented the way she carried herself.
Couple of things. I've got my dude, Jason Whitlock, saying he's done. He's out. We've got Colin Cowherd saying, you know what? Guess what I didn't talk about on my show this year? The WNBA. Guess why? He just come out and said it yesterday. Because Caitlyn Clark was not playing. That's why. He said, I led my show, my biggest, largest national sports radio show in the country. I led my show with Caitlyn Clark 6 times last year. I mean, you don't lead a show with anybody.
Saying she acted like she was already bigger than the team. Anonymous sources suggested players felt overshadowed by her constant media coverage. Fans believed tension was brewing, and every sideline clip was analyzed for drama. A simple glare, proof she was beefing with a teammate, a quick exchange with the coach, headlines about a rift. Caitlyn's every move was fuel for speculation. The pressure only built when she faced Angel Reese again. Their rivalry wasn't just a storyline, it was a full-blown spectacle. Every foul, every stare, every bucket was broadcast as part of the ongoing feud. And in one heated game, Angel delivered a crushing block on Caitlyn, stood over her, and smirked as the crowd roared. The clip went viral instantly. Angel's fans called it revenge. Caitlyn's supporters called it targeting. But the damage was done. Once again, Caitlyn was on the wrong side of a viral moment, and then came the injuries. She wasn't sidelined for long stretches, but the constant physical punishment took its toll. Ice packs after every game. Limping to the locker room, a visible wince after hard contact. The rookie who was supposed to electrify the league now looked worn down, her body struggling to adjust to the grind of professional basketball. Commentators started whispering, could she even survive the season at this rate? And while all this unfolded, the league itself faced questions. Was the WNBA protecting its most marketable star? Were refs letting the bullying go too far?